Hi everyone, welcome back. Here's See the Stories, the signature segment of the 3-Hour News Show. So today, September the 10th, is observed as World Suicide Prevention Day, where the day is dedicated to highlighting the issue of suicide while reducing stigma and emphasizing that these tragedies can be prevented. I mean, you saw it's viral on Instagram and other social medias.
All day today.
All day today, yes. All right, so let's hear the details information now.
Yes, suicide has become a serious public health crisis and claims over 700,000 lives annually worldwide. This year's theme for World Suicide Prevention Day, Changing the Narrative on Suicide, calls for open conversations to address the issue, raise awareness, prioritize suicide prevention and mental health in policy making.
And joining us now in the studio is Rachel Emmanuella, a project manager of suicide prevention and youth mental health community Into The Light Indonesia. Hi, Rachel. Thank you Thank you for coming to see today's studio. So, yeah, we just want to ask you, have you been always focusing on the suicide prevention and mental health?
Okay. First of all, thank you so much for the opportunity from See Today. It was such an honor for Into The Light Indonesia to come and visit here in your headquarters. This is so much opportunity to speak out about suicide prevention issues. So Into The Light Indonesia has been going around spreading the awareness and breaking the stigma on mental health awareness and suicide prevention ever since 2012. When our founder, Benny Prawirasiao, facing the most crisis in his life, when his close friends are facing suicide crisis, and he reflects on his own case and then trying to make a platform when people can access the information regarding suicide prevention, suicide crisis, so that people can have Indonesian-based data and some of the 101 that they can use. Since this topic has been going around for so long, but back in 2012, we haven't had the proper media to see and seek about that deeply. So ever since 2012, Into The Light has been trying to spread the awareness, breaking the stigma around mental health and suicide prevention issue. Ever since the topic is very taboo in our society, people are trying to conceal the fact that suicide can happen to anyone, can happen to anybody.
That's true.
Can happen to many social layers. So people are still trying so hard to figure out why people want to end their life. Some people have some optimistic view on life, and they cannot see why people want to end their life abruptly.
Eventually. Well, I mean, as you are, for example, if you're in the airplane, it says save yourself first, like get the oxygen for you first and then you help others. Because in many cases that I know as well, we are busy trying to help other people to make other people feel better, but we forget about taking care of ourselves.
Exactly.
Have you found these kinds of cases where you also handle, people that looked okay in the beginning, but actually they're having problems?
Yeah, exactly. This is so common in our society actually, especially when people are connecting suicide issue with identity. For example, when people are connecting their peers to the impression of being manly or being a guy with a big family or someone with responsibility in educational field. So that kind of stigma, what makes people think that those kind of people are not prone into suicide crisis or suicidal thought.
But they're wrong.
So they were actually wrong. So people are still facing so many issues on concealing that someone they love, not even close or even closer that they can imagine, are facing the harsh truth that they actually need the help. So we're so busy in our life, taking care of each other, taking care of the people that we love. We often have a kind of perspective, third-person perspective, and we kind of forgot on how we seek through ourselves and how we actually need the help that we deserve. There are so many cases that Into the Light has been trying to focus on, especially on collecting data and doing national research on how students around Indonesia are facing peer pressure, bullying, or cannot reach out to their teachers, not having a safe space to facing their puberty or any academic issue that they are facing. People are making assumption about their ethnicity or their age or how tall they are. They should be strong for themselves. So what we are trying to do in Into the Light Indonesia is breaking the stigma that suicide is actually a multi-layered cases. It's not only focused on men or women or people from marginalized peer group. It's actually multifactorial. It has so many layers on psychological, societal, and biological issue, and even economical issues. So when people are trying to oversimplify suicide case by saying that they are taking their own life due to a romantic issue or due to the academic issue, there are actually a lot to unfold when it comes to taking their own life and trying to find the help all this time.
Because sometimes we think like people who take their own life, they're being selfish, but then we just don't know the backstory of that person, right? And sometimes it's important for us to always check on other people because we're always busy with our own lives. Sometimes that's why we always have to remember to check on other people to see.
And check on ourselves too.
Check on ourselves too.
Whether we are okay or not, right?
Yeah. Okay. I want to ask about the statistic. Do you have a statistic from Indonesia? Because earlier we mentioned that suicide has become a serious public health crisis and it claims over 700,000 lives annually worldwide. But what about in Indonesia alone?
So the newest data on Indonesia from Ministry of Health actually unfold based on self-reported questionnaire. So people that are volunteering and willing to give the data to our Ministry of Health. It's actually kind of shocking for us. So the reported cases goes around 680,000 lives. Indonesia, and that is only the reported case. Into the Light, and especially worldwide and in Indonesia, we are facing so many issues regarding collecting data on the death of people that are taking their own life in suicide cases, since it's very hard to conceal the cause of their death. So based on the data, there are only 10 reported cases, for example, but it's actually around 86 cases in the factual number. So we're, exactly.
Wow, so it's like 1 on 8 cases reported every time?
Something around that line.
Okay. So you mentioned that there has to be a lot of investigations into one attempt of suicide because there must be layers of reasonings behind.
Exactly.
So what kind of programs does your program have or can be offered to people in making sure that people always check on themselves and try to reduce the suicide rates?
Okay. So Into the Light has been going on with our main concern in science-based research and volunteer-based support for amongst their peers. So we're trying our best to give society what they need by giving them peer support from the youth. We're giving the voice of the youth from our volunteer called Lightbringers. So the Lightbringers are being trained by our experts and our team to create a safe space for people along there, around 80 to 25 or 35 if that's can be reachable to our audience. And we're trying our best to collect the data from international research and the national research, and we also try our best to open so many opportunity for collaboration so that we can find out the proper and correct media to break the stigma so that people, even their family, the people that the lost one will trying their best to tell the truth and are not afraid anymore to speak out about the loss of their loved one that are taking their own life by suicide. So before we prevent that, also we prevent when they are doing that and trying our best to facilitate the family that are dealing with suicide loss too. So we are having this team called task force. We have suicide prevention and suicide crisis prevention and suicide postvention, so that we can also give the room for people that are coping with suicide loss. And we are trying to break the stigma so that people can be cooperative and talk more about suicide and not feel like it's taboo anymore, so that people that are dealing with suicide crisis and still can be salvageable can also feel safe to be vulnerable around us.
You didn't tell us what are the main or the majority of age groups or maybe age from the demographic of the suicidal cases that happen in Indonesia, and also whether it's more on the males or females?
Okay. Due to recent data from Ministry of Health, there's actually some increasing numbers on people that came from some specific demography. But we are trying to make people understand that those demography doesn't define the stigma that people are trying to make. Although we need to put more focus on men's mental health, because recently people are still living around the patriarchal point of view, and we're trying our best to break that stigma also. And then in Indonesia itself, I already mentioned the number, and we're trying our best to get the specific data by making our society as comfortable as possible. And Into the Light itself has improving our program. It's called CARE. So CARE is when we are trying to make a peer counseling and safe space for students all amongst Indonesia, so that they can have and prepared with safeguarding policy when it comes to suicidal issue and mental health psychological first aid. So we don't learn about that in high school or even in elementary school. So they need to be prepared on when their friends are having hyperventilating, they are trying so hard to breathe, or having academic panic during tests. They don't even know what to do, but they want to try their best to calm their friends. But what about them? So we're trying our best in Into the Light with CARE. We're trying to make people understand what to do, because we all know that actually they really want to help, but they are clueless of what to do. Ever since we were young, we are equipped with empathy and care for each other, but we need to push the narrative to people that it's actually salvageable and you can do the most simple thing that you can for your loved one.
Which is the first aid,
Now, before we move forward, you know, you have the data, you have the numbers, but can you tell us what's the most common causes for someone to take their own life?
Okay, so the common causes that people feel in themselves when it comes to suicide issue or suicide crisis is when they feel distress from external or internal issue. So we cannot specify one thing just to feel focused on suicide issue. We need to be equipped in every case and every situation, in every moment that we're trying to help people with crisis. But when it comes to external distress or internal distress that they feel, it's actually multi-layered, like I've mentioned before. It's about psychological issue, biological issue, society issue, or even economical issue. So those things should always be warned to our peers or to our society, so that we can always equip in every situation. But in truth, in Indonesia, we are currently also focusing on suicide case when it comes to media that shares about online loan or online gambling or group family suicide. That's actually kind of eye-opening for people that actual people, a group of people are putting their attention on suicide issue, but at what cost? Making or only be interested in that issue when it comes to suicide. Maybe our loved one are trying to take their own life only because they cannot go into the favorite university that love, or losing the loved one. It's actually never that trivial. When people want to take their own life, in any cases, in any situation, we need to be prepared.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Still, like, we have a lot of questions.
We have a lot of questions,
still.
but
yeah, but we have to take a break. Let you have a rest as well. We'll continue our talk with Rachel Emmanuella after the break, so don't go anywhere.